How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
My name is Jonathan Gillum.
And this is The Experts. This is Jonathan Gillum, and this is The Experts on Facebook Live, Twitter, and YouTube. And tonight is going to be a very short show. I've got to record this book, and the only time I can do it is at night because I'm doing it in my own studio and in New York City. I don't care how much you soundproof it. You're just going to hear everything that's going on outside. So that plus I'm feeling a little bit under the weather, so I'm going to push everything till tomorrow and concentrate on getting some of this book knocked out tonight because I have to record the book for the audio book, and there's still a lot of developing stories right now. I'm waiting to see the reality of what's happening with this this whole mess that the Clintons could be in. But I'm telling you, folks, I just don't have any confidence in the Congress or the FBI getting to the bottom of this. And I will explain that. So let's get started. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it. Now, if I get going here and all of a sudden there's like unbelievably high numbers, maybe I'll stay on a little bit. But, yeah, I am not expecting there to be high numbers because the World Series is going on, and that's the way it was last night. So right now I'm sharing the show. If you haven't shared it, make sure that you share it. And if you're on Twitter, make sure you're retweeting it. And boom, there you go. Shared. Look at that. So I apologize for tonight. It's not going to be a long show, but I am just feeling under the weather today. And I apologize for tonight. Let me turn that down there. And I've got to get this audio book done as soon as possible. So it is, gosh, I thought writing the book was hard, but actually reading it for me is just as hard. Yeah. So anyway, I guess what I wanted to just bring up here real quick. I don't have this guy. Let me get this guy's name here. Oakland A's player Bruce Maxwell. He knelt for the national anthem. He's the catcher, and he decided to kneel and says that he's claiming a waiter denied, or that a waiter denied to serve him, or refused to serve him because he heard about that. The waiter's saying that's not true. But I'm going to bring this picture up here. I'm telling you, folks, this stuff just bothers me more than anything. This is the story off of FoxNews.com, and this is Bruce Maxwell, and this, I don't remember what this idiot's name is, but he's standing there with his hand. You can see my pointer here. He's standing here with his hand on old Bruce's shoulders. Now, here's the interesting thing about this, or on his shoulder in support of him, right? So Bruce was born on a military base in Germany when his father was in the Army. This has to be a slap in the face of his father, unless his father, you know, not everybody that's in the Army is patriotic or in the military is patriotic, believe it or not. But this guy was born on a military base, and he takes the one time when these people stand for the right reasons together, as we always explain, and he kneels, bringing this to Major League Baseball. And again, Major League Baseball is not going to do anything about it because they're no different than the NFL, the NBA. They're too afraid, and they're too full of communists that own these different groups. Now, I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But this guy is either a communist, even though his father's in the Army, or he's such an idiot that he doesn't realize the reality of what Colin Kaepernick is and what he was kneeling for. Social injustice for minorities is what this individual says he's kneeling for. But to my knowledge, he's never lived in the inner city. To my knowledge, he's never gone out and tried to be a healer in the inner city to stop black-on-black crime, to stop this hatred that's going on around the country, like this little story here where some guy walked up. I don't know where it's at. Some guy walked up, and a black guy walked up and threw some unknown fluid in a 13-year-old female's face that was getting off a school bus today or yesterday, and then took off running. That happened here in Queens and in New York. I don't see this guy doing anything to stop that kind of hatred. You think taking a knee during the national anthem is going to bring the people together? No, it's not. But he, like I said, he's either communist or he's too stupid to realize what's going on. What happened there? He's too stupid to realize what's going on, and he takes a knee and is giving a legitimacy to these communists, these Marxists like Colin Kaepernick. Now, you know, everybody says, "Come on, dude, enough with this communist stuff." Let me just show you something that was in my mailroom yesterday in my building. Hold on. And this is legit. It's not fake. We looked it up online. Here you go. Celebration of the 100th year anniversary of the 1917 Russian Socialist Revolution. Now, don't be mistaken. It's communist. It's not socialist. They do the same thing then that they do now. But let me read this to you, and I want you to take this in, because this is the lie, the great lie. And tell me if you want to give up freedom for a centralized government that has never been proven to work and has never done anything but rule people with an iron fist, okay? This is what they say. Join us to learn about how socialism established a planned economy, created industry, and collective agriculture. So everybody works together to grow things. Wiped out illiteracy. Ended women's bondage. Yeah, right. Ended unemployment. Really? In Russia, that they weren't waiting in soup lines and with nothing on the shelves at all. Some people not eating for days. And the country's participation in war. Ended the country's participation in war and empire and the defeat of fascism. Okay. First of all, let's start at the very end of that. Communist Russia did not defeat socialism. All right. That was in World War II, and that didn't happen in 1917. That happened around the 1940s when we went into World War II, and we conquered as the Allies together conquered Hitler and the Nazis. Mussolini, people like that. This was not something that the Russian Socialist Revolution did. That didn't do it. Now, they had their own, I don't know if you'd want to call them fascists, but I guess maybe they were fascists, more like aristocracy and kings that led with an iron fist. But ultimately, the real fascist in all this was Hitler, and what ended that and defeated that was the Allied coalition, not the Russian Socialist Revolution. Now let's go backwards just a little bit from there. It ended Russia's participation in war and empire. Now it did end the Russian Empire that was prior to the USSR, but it did not end Russia's participation in war. Russia, in fact, was involved in nearly every war around the world because it was constant movement of trying to get communism into all these countries to subvert them so they could eventually... Remember, any madman that is able to take over a country will ultimately want to take over more than just that country. And communism moved at a fast pace, and they were trying to take over the world, the globe, basically. They were fighting proxy wars all over the globe. That's a lie. It certainly didn't end unemployment. It didn't help out women in their bondage at all. It didn't wipe out illiteracy because people became impoverished, and whenever there's poverty around, people are going to become illiterate because they don't have anything to work for. Why would you go to school and learn stuff if you know you're only going to be doing that? That's it. There's no real incentive to ever learn anything else. So that's a lie. Collective agriculture. Yeah, that worked out real well. That worked out so well that people starved by the millions in a lot of these countries. Created industry that benefited the centralized government. Planned economy that benefited the centralized government. So it goes on and says, in examining the immense achievements of the heroic Russian Revolution, we can explore how it can happen again and what it might mean for us living under capitalism's exploitation of the masses and the earth. In celebration, we can affirm our belief that the only solution is socialist revolution. Now, folks, stand by here. Stand by. And I'm going to, this computer, man. Anybody want to donate even a halfway decent used Macintosh to this show? That'd be a laptop. I'll take it. So, just so you get a good understanding of this, okay? And this knucklehead that was taking a knee for the Major League Baseball. This is who you're following the lead of, okay? This guy right here. This, what I'm reading, is what he believes, all right? What he believes in this fist right here, that has nothing to do with cleaning up the inner city. This guy is a communist. I don't know how many times I have to say this. He's a communist. He does not care about the inner city. He's using this whole thing to bring about this, a socialist revolution. Now you know why. See, I talk about this all the time, and people think that it's fake. This was being handed out in the building where I live. The website is real. You can go look this up. They're going to have massive amount of speakers there. I don't know how many people are going to be there. And go figure, these weirdos are going to have it down by Wall Street. It's free admission. You got to bring your ID, or else I'd go. Just go down there just to mess with people. But I guarantee you that a lot of Antifa people are going to be there. It's 3 blocks south of Wall Street. Now, I'm going to give out the phone number. You guys can feel free to call and let them know that you think that they're dirtbags. It's 347-512-2547. I'm going to put that up here. Let's see here. Stand by. There it is. Okay. It is, what did I say, 347 512 2547. All right. So here's the number. It'll be right there, right above him, right above this communist head. And you can call that number, although you're going to want to block your number because you don't want them coming after you. And let them know what you think, that they're dirtbags. Also, they have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Bolshevik Revolution Committee. They always love these committees. Bolshevik Revolution Committee. It's also being held at the Center for Worker Education. Gee, if that didn't sound like a communist organization, I don't know what is. Center for Worker Education, 25 Broadway, 7th floor auditorium. And that's going to be on November 7th. No, yes, November 7th. Excuse me, yes. Yeah, so there you go. Block your number. Give this phone number a call. Or go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/Bolshevik Revolution Committee. I'll show you where that looks like. There it is. Bolshevik Revolution Committee. So, for all those people out there that think I'm, gosh, like one person on Facebook was like, or on Twitter said, how many times can you say subversion in one sentence or in one paragraph? Look, this stuff is real, folks. It's real, and I think it should be outlawed. I don't think that communism and socialism should be allowed in this country, because ultimately socialism is communism. It's just a lie, a bigger lie, saying that that this is the way, they try to make it sound like it's much cleaner, happier, friendly communism, but it's communism nonetheless. So this is where I got to get this guy off my screen. He's making me ill. He looks like a bird. So, speaking of big birds, Mayor de Blasio is a communist here in New York City. I can guarantee you the majority of people that are involved with the DNC are socialist slash communists. They may not use the term communist, but they're socialist slash communist. Yes, Stephen Kellums says 1917, we are moving backwards. Did that say 1917 on it? Yes, it did. It says celebration of the 100-year anniversary of the 1917 Russian Socialist Revolution. And yes, Anthony Rivera, thank you for showing up late. So, look, folks, this is, I'm going to show this picture one more time, or show this flyer that was left in my building, and they had a whole pile of them. And you can go, there's a website you can go to. If you just Google it, you'll see. This is not a joke. It's a real thing. And they believe that, as they say right there, the only solution is socialist revolution. That's what they believe. So feel free to get like 10,000 people and go march on 25 Broadway, 7th floor auditorium, the Center for Worker Education. Oh, my goodness. They don't even try to make it covert, which is true. And Yuri Brezhnev said that. He said that things that these subversive groups would come in and they would not be covert. That we have this idea of subversion of being where they blow up bridges and it's spy versus spy. But the reality is, I gave a perfect example of plants in government yesterday when I was talking about Ben Sasse. I don't want to point out the person that wrote me, but somebody that actually is closely related to Ben Sasse wrote me an email yesterday and said I nailed it. That he is a weird dude and he has always wanted to be president of the United States, which is interesting. I was having a talk with a friend of mine today who is actually in the FBI, and we both agree that people who want to be leaders, like that's the thing they want to do. What do you want to do in your life? You want to be a fireman? No. You want to be a SEAL? No. You want to be a nurse or a teacher? No. I want to be a leader. I want people to follow me. I want to be president. Those are typically, kids can say that as well. But as they become an adult, if that's their goal, typically what the reality is that they don't know how to lead. They want power. They want to be up on the top, and they think that in their mind, they literally think that they know what is best for everybody else. Now, if that doesn't sound like a communist ideology, I don't know what does. And I think when you got people like Ben Sasse or John McCain or Mitt Romney, that's just on the Republican side. None of those people are true conservatives, I don't believe. When you got the Bushes, George Bush and his father, when you have Jimmy Carter, who is a Democrat, Bill Clinton, who's a Democrat, Hillary Clinton, who's a Democrat. The list goes on, especially with the Democrats. Everything they want is they want to be at the top. I want to lead this. I want to be in charge. This is my idea, and I think I know better how you should live than anybody else. See, that's what's great about where we live now is if you fail, it's on you. It's on you. If you succeed, it's yours. You can own it. But if you fail, you can choose to own that or not. But this stuff is real, folks. It's real. Now, I wasn't even going to stay on that long. I do think it's very, very interesting how the mainstream media, when I turn on the TV today, is doing everything they can to spin what I hope is inevitable, what's coming out about Hillary Clinton paying for a dossier, and it turned out I think they knew it was a fake dossier. They basically paid $1 million to get a dossier made that slammed Trump, and it was in direct relationship with the Russians. Yet, for some reason, that on CNN they were trying to make it sound as though when the Trump campaign approached WikiLeaks to see if they could get Hillary's emails if they had them, that's the same. But it's not the same. Collusion with the Russian government is not the same as somebody who approaches WikiLeaks, who I find disgusting, but they had the dirt on the Clintons, and they tried to get that dirt. That is campaign versus campaign is what that is. When it comes to what the Clintons are now being accused of doing, and the DNC, remember, it's not just the Clintons, the DNC are now accused. This is much bigger. It's huge, and it's something that I predicted a long time ago, and what I would hope that some of you would go and read this. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let's see here. Again, I talked about this yesterday. I wrote this last year at the end of the year, but actually it didn't post. I didn't submit it to the Daily Caller until after the president had already. Good grief! Is it just me, or does it drive you guys crazy that you can't look at anything online without a commercial? They just got a free commercial. So the name of it was, and you can't really see it on here, Democrats are addicted to ludicrous scapegoating. And you can Google my name and the Daily Caller, and it'll come up. And it talks about how I believe the DNC used a source. I don't even know why I have this up there. You can't see it. How they used a source, probably a Russian source, somebody in the Russian government to formulate that whole dossier, to hack into the emails, and they literally thought that Hillary Clinton was going to win. And when she started to lose, what I think you saw in all of this was their game plan. They put together this whole thing because they saw that Trump was doing much better than they thought he was going to do. So they started putting together a plan to build a fake dossier that showed that he had some kind of collusion with the Russians, then to set up with a source in the Russian government so that they could say, we want to meet with President Trump, or with candidate Trump at the time. So he goes and meets with him, and so they had a source in the Russian government that was either recording this stuff or was just making it happen. I mean, we record this stuff, and they were overheard on that. But ultimately, what I think was happening is, it's not like necessarily that the Trump administration or the campaign administration was reaching out to the Russians. Maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe they did, just to meet them, not to carry on foreign relations. But when they did, that source either immediately reported it so they could unmask it and listen to it just to see if they could catch anybody doing anything wrong, which they didn't, or they had their sources go and literally seek out the Trump campaign to say they wanted to meet with them, set up a meeting, all full well knowing that it's being recorded by the Bureau and the CIA, and then it would be, they had places like Susan Power to unmask it. Or they would just use her name to unmask it, is what she's saying, or Susan Rice. This is just proof. I think what's coming out is proof for this article that I wrote that this is not something, these meetings with the Russians were not just by accident. They wanted these meetings to happen because they knew they could listen. They knew that even if there was nothing said that was bad or wrong, they knew in collusion with the media, the DNC knew when they colluded with the media, that's their propaganda arm of this communist movement, they knew that they could spin whatever meeting it is. Remember, there's no court of law here. This is all the court of public opinion, and the mainstream media are the masters at spinning that. Not just the mainstream media, but all of the networks. They're all the masters of spinning this stuff. So basically what you see is that I believe we're coming on, and you remember where you heard this, folks. You heard it here. You're not hearing this on television. You're not hearing it on any other radio shows. What I believe happened is that nobody thought that Hillary Clinton was going to lose. That's why Ben Sasse got elected, even though he's really a liberal. That's why many of these other individuals who are going against Trump, the never Trumpers, they hate him so bad because he dried up their pond of money. And Ben Sasse and guys like him got elected bashing Obamacare, which is what we wanted to hear, the conservatives in this country. But what they did was they did that so they could get elected, full well thinking that Hillary Clinton was going to be the one that would win, and they would never have to worry about truly fixing Obamacare, and they could continue to stuff their pockets with their rich, liberal, or medically connected constituents. Now, That's how Ben Sasse got in, and that's what everybody else thought. Clinton thought that, everybody. And when this went downhill and President, then candidate Trump, started climbing in the polls and going head-to-head, what I believe happened was that the DNC, along with their intelligence counterparts and people that work, remember, at that point in time, it was a Democratic president, Barack Obama. So they had access to all the intelligence agencies, to all the overhears, to all of the ambassadors, anybody they want to reach out to, they had the ability to use them. Plus, the Clintons already had relationships with them. So what I believe was going on is that, and this comes after the uranium deal, right? Hillary Clinton and the DNC already had these connections with, and if you don't think Barack Obama and his wife weren't up there milking the fat tit of the uranium cow and that deal, you're crazy. So all these people working together, and this is back in the uranium deal. So they think that's never going to be discovered. Ben Sasse, when he ran for Congress and all these other Senate and all these other people, they didn't think they'd ever have to do anything because they thought it was a shoo-in. Hillary Clinton's going to get elected. The Russians wanted Hillary Clinton elected. Everybody else that you saw in the news where they tried to make it sound like there was contention between them, they wanted Hillary Clinton elected because they knew they had already paid for their part in Hillary Clinton's government because her husband went around speaking and they kept giving him money to the Clinton Foundation. They didn't think it would be any big deal. Hillary Clinton will get elected, and their countries will just have whatever they want. The senators and the congressmen that did the same thing and ran on false pretenses, telling conservatives what they wanted to hear, thought that Hillary Clinton was going to get elected, and there would never be anything to worry about. Well, guess what? It didn't work out that way. And so what happened, I think, is that as this started to crumble, as this tree started to crumble, what they did was they developed a plan to basically frame the president, and it's called entrapment. So basically what they did, because they had all these agencies that are headed by political appointees put there by Barack Obama and the Democratic Party, they colluded with all these people, and what they did was they started developing this plan. We're going to make our contacts with Russia, because if you think that Putin wanted Trump to win, when he knew that he could get whatever he wanted with Hillary Clinton, he already got it with the uranium deal and anything else, as long as they kept feeding him money. It got to a point where Trump was doing better than people thought, and they thought, we got to lower the big guns. So what'd they do? They go and develop the sources with the Russian government. They collude with the Russian government. They do it through Fusion GPS in order to build a dossier. I think they thought it would be very simple. I think they thought, and NBC had that video, said, yes, we can put this video up here saying that he says he can grab women, and we can do this dossier, and it's going to derail everything. We're going to derail all this stuff. And at the same time, what we're going to do is we're going to say that the DNC was hacked because I believe, my mind says, and I'm not going to say his name on here, but somebody that worked for the DNC, there's a reason why I'm not saying his name, because you say this guy's name or anything about Pizzagate and you're gone off of freaking social media. Don't worry, that stuff's going to come to light, I have a feeling. But screw it, Seth Rich. So I think he was going to give this information over, or already had, to WikiLeaks. I don't think the Democratic Party knew who did that, and I think that was a huge curveball. So they had already started this operation to basically frame then candidate Trump by setting up all these different meets with Russian ambassadors that they would unmask, by creating this fake dossier through Fusion GPS in the Russian government, by having Russians hack into the DNC after they had the curveball thrown to them because they found out some of their emails were going to WikiLeaks. Now they wanted to play the victim card along with that. And I think they thought, well, you know what? This is going to be painful, but we're still going to discredit President Trump because we're going to say now that he developed relationships with the Russians and he's the one that is responsible for the emails being hacked and for all these different things. Listen, I believe if they had real investigators turned loose on this, it's a very simple conspiracy. I think I think that these people put this plan in action. The political appointees, Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, the DNC, the media, the mainstream media, the big wigs like CNN, MSNBC, I think they were all colluding to put this thing together, to frame the president. They had a couple of curveballs like the emails, like John Podesta's email that came out. And so that actually kind of worked in their benefit a little bit, but not completely because it kind of discredited Hillary Clinton. But at the same time, it actually helped them because it made them look like made other people talk about Pizzagate look stupid in the eyes of at least half this country, you know. So this is the thing to remember, though. Criminals don't build their houses with foundations of cement. They don't build it upon the rock. I had this conversation with somebody today. It's a friend of mine that's going through heartache, and they had a bad breakup, and I kept telling them, you need to turn to the Bible. You need to read the Bible. You need to talk to the Lord. You need to sit and listen for that voice. People are like, what voice? God doesn't talk to me. I can guarantee you, when you're going through a hard time, let's take a breakup, for instance. You break up with somebody, and you want to lash out at them. There's a voice in your brain that's saying, no, listen, you need to calm down and take a breath, and you need to go for a walk. Take your dog outside. Go on a road trip. Cry. Let it out. Have a drink and relax with friends, but don't go make that phone call. Don't send that email. Don't send that text. Delete everything. Forget it. And this goes through your brain, but you don't listen to that. It's like literally a screaming wind, like, don't do it. It's like that. It's not like me, you know, where I'm yelling, but you don't listen, right? That is the foundation in which you should always build your decisions on, is that, I can't remember the words. People call it still, calm voice, whatever. But it's a whisper, but it's a screaming whisper in your brain. It's guidance, because God wants you to make your decision, right? So He says, "I think you should do it this way," and then you got to make that decision. Criminals don't use that side of their brain, and they don't listen to that voice. So when they build these monstrosities of criminal buildings that they have, like the Clinton. The whole Clinton grandiose money-making machine, they're not doing it with a solid foundation built from hard work and listening to that voice in their brain saying, be honest, be good, be reputable, do what's good for other people, and they'll come back to you. They don't listen to that. What they do is they let greed push them forward. They let their nefarious ways push them forward. And sometimes it takes years and years for that house to crumble. But ultimately it does. So when we look at what the Clintons have done, what you see is a massive amount of, not just the Clintons, but this whole group. You see a massive amount of very nefarious behavior. You see during Barack Obama's term, things that happened in society that were very divisive and allowed to happen. You don't see a lot of the Black Lives Matter marches going on right now. You don't see a lot of Antifa. You do see a lot of Antifa, not even as much as you did last year. That's because those types of things were encouraged, I believe, because it helps keep the whole country in disarray. The Ebola virus, oh my gosh, let's just throw everybody up in arms and make everybody worried. And you do these things and allow it to happen. At the same time, they're doing their nefarious stuff and making money and building all these legs here and there and thinking that they are full well going to continue to be in power. I don't think it would have actually bothered a lot of these power players if Jeb Bush had won. Or, I don't know about Ted Cruz. I don't really know about Ted Cruz. I don't know. But some of these other people, it would have been okay. You think if Jeb Bush had been elected, he would go after Hillary Clinton or any of this stuff would have come to light? No, because they would have just continued. He's a lifelong politician. He's a Bush. He's a globalist. He says, I don't agree with those people. And then in behind closed doors, they're all shaking hands and hugging. No telling what else. So that's what I believe. I believe that what you're seeing is a culmination of entrapment and a movement to frame the president that just didn't work out. It just didn't work out. It happened too late, because I think that Clinton and the rest of these people, Obama and all these people in charge, they thought that even though President Trump was doing good, he probably wasn't going to get elected. And at some point they said, okay, we got to go into overdrive. But it was just too late. And it's worked. It's worked for a period of time, but everybody can see through it. When the media does what they do, people see through it. And I think, and I'll be eager to see if this is the way it plays out, that this house of cards could fall big time. Now, here's the caveat to that. I don't trust Trey Gowdy. I don't trust any Democratic or Republican congressman that's up there. I don't trust the senators at all. I don't trust the Supreme Court or federal judges. I don't trust a lot of sheriffs. I trust the cops. The sheriffs are elected. There's a lot of mayors I don't trust. A lot of governors I don't trust. I don't know. I don't want to say I don't think. There's a possibility that nothing could come out of this. Nobody gets charged or goes to jail or nothing. That's because, yeah, who's just said here on Twitter, Trey is good. Really? Trey is good? Tell me what Trey has done since he's been in office. Tell me what Trey Gowdy did to Hillary Clinton. Tell me what Trey Gowdy did besides looking up there. Look, if Trey Gowdy really felt as strongly as he did, he'd do one of two things. He would have never stopped talking about the travesty that Benghazi hearing was, or that the Comey hearings were, and he would have just kept pressing, or quit and just said, I cannot, as a patriotic American, be a part of this criminal thing we call Congress. I don't see anybody doing that. And I don't see anything coming out of their congressional hearings. Nothing. Not a single thing, except people grandstanding so they can get reelected. That's all I see. So, I said I was going to do a short show, but I guess the numbers are good, so I just figured I'd keep going. Listen, real quick, let me just say this. I'm going to play my commercial again, but I want you to, right now, if you're watching this on Facebook, I want you to share this show. You just click the link and post it on your page, or I think you can go down to the bottom where it says share, right at the bottom of the comments, and hit share. It'll go to your page. And if you're on Twitter, hit retweet. Just do that. Let's get this show going. Even though I'm not feeling good tonight, you see the reality of how trained investigator who worked for the federal government and done all these things and worked in unconventional warfare, I can see these things happening. It's not conspiratorial. I'm not going off of other people's words. I'm not letting other people influence my ideas. I'm looking where the facts are pointing, and the facts are pointing here. I'll give you an example of another way that you can tell that I'm telling the truth and looking at facts on here. We look at the Las Vegas shooting. Everybody wants to make a conspiracy out of that. I've said all along that when I listen to the sound of the shooting, I'm not convinced there wasn't more than one shooter. I'm also not convinced that there might not have been another person in that room before the security guard came up there. Heck, it could have even been the security guard. Came up there. Now they're saying that the hard drive from the computer is missing. Well, how do I know who took that hard drive? How do I know there wasn't somebody else up there that shot that guy in the head and unasked that place with a hard drive and got out of there? I don't know. We do know now that his brother is in jail for child porn. So obviously, it's an evil family. The guy could have just been a psychopath. And that's all the information or the intelligence is reporting to right now, is that the guy was just crazy. We can theorize on the fact that there could be other shooters. We can theorize on the fact that there could be other people, had been other people in that room. But we have to look at what the evidence says. And we don't have much evidence right now. And there's not a clear picture. So I can't go out and say, oh, yeah, there's obviously more shooters, or the guy that showed up to Ellen was not the real guy, because, I'm not even going to go into that nonsense. That the security guard is a part of this. There's not evidence right now that we can see this stuff, and there's not a clear enough picture for me to analyze it. But when it comes to this Clinton stuff, based on my training and experience as an investigator and having dealt with high-level nefarious people, I can tell you that this is not adding up, and it just looks like an entrapment case that you would see if the government went after any other individual. And knowing what I know about political appointees and about the office of the President of the United States and their crooked political monopolies of the Democratic and the Republican parties, private companies that own every seat of power, they control every voting process that happens. Even the election overwatch committee or whatever it's called is Democrat and Republicans, the two private companies. There's clear evidence that relationships were formed, and if we look at history and the way extortion happens, when you look at those cases, when the case starts to go down a little bit, they manufacture their evidence, and sometimes it looks good, sometimes it looks bad. And in the case, I think here with the Clintons and their stuff that they're trying to do with President Trump, it looks to me like fabricated evidence. They controlled the ambassadors, they controlled the sources, they controlled the ability to unmask, and they created the illusion that the president and his entourage was doing something wrong, when in fact they weren't. All right, so that's it. I'll let you guys go so you can go watch Sean Hannity's show because it's coming on right now. I can tell when my numbers drop because he comes on. And I'll be on his radio show tomorrow, probably around 4:30 or 5, I believe, with Jessica Tarloff. I get to go head-to-head with my good friend Jessica. And that ought to be fun. She is a very, very smart individual. And so I'll see you guys there and then back here tomorrow night. So I hope everybody got something out of this, even though it was kind of all over the place. And didn't, again, I don't like looking at the headlines, because when I look at the headlines, I'm not getting the full story. I mean, a lot of these stories come off the headlines, but I could do what all these other shows are and say, bing, 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 this is what's being reported in the news. But I think it's more important to look into some of these stories and really dig into this stuff. In reality, okay, look, I know what I'm talking about in some of this stuff. Like, I've been shouting communism for how long now, and look, I'm not kidding you. This stuff is coming up. This is just in New York. Who knows wherever this stuff could be, all over the place. It's real. And I'm not going to lead you astray. So, thank you all for showing up in big numbers. Don't forget to share the show. Retweet it on Twitter. Share it on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and like my page on Facebook and on YouTube. And thank you, YouTube. I know I neglect you all. Let me see how many people are even over here. 24. It always gets capped at 24. That's really weird. It is what it is. Okay. Let's go to the Truth Zone. I don't think Rico's going to come over here tonight. He's just laying there staring at me. Hold on.
How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.
All right. Rico gets a lot of love on this show. I think I'll take him out for another little walk. So, thank you, everybody. Even though I wrote on there this is going to be a short show, it was a longer show, and maybe people will get goaded into watching it. I hope you guys are getting out of this show what I'm trying to put into it, which is the true information of and the reality of what's going on behind the scenes in this media. There's other people that watch this show. Kitty Kelly, Michael Jack, Jason Meister, Dave Robinson, all these different people that have stuff to add. Norma has a tremendous amount of stuff to add. You know, your voices mean something too. So if you have something to say, let me know so I can share that. If you've been watching this show for the first time tonight and you have insight in some of this stuff, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll put you on the big screen here. This is my big screen. I'll put you on the big screen, and we'll have you talk about it. It's got to be legitimate, though. I'm not going to let you come on here and give your opinion on stuff. You need to give your professional opinion based on facts. And if you haven't gone out and got my book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, do that. Go order it. We need to keep the numbers good. When it comes out in December, we want to blow the lid off this and make it huge. Because ultimately, what this book does, what this show does, is empower you. It's important for you to be empowered. Feminism is not going to make you a powerful woman. It's going to make you angry. It's going to make you divisive. Black Lives Matter is not going to save the inner city. And if you have dark skin, first and foremost, you need to forget about that nonsense, okay? I don't care what the color of somebody's skin is. If they're a good person, if they're a moralistic person, if they're ethical and hardworking and they care about people, I look at you as a brother or a sister. I will never, and I would hope that you would never do this, never determine my behavior based on this, the color of my skin. But those people that do subscribe to that, they're being played, they've been brainwashed. When you go to college, or you send your kids to college, you or they must realize they have been subverted. And if you go there and believe everything that you're being told, if you're doing math, 1 + 1 = 2, that's cool. But if you're taking a class on something else and the instructor starts talking about how bad the president is and he has no facts to back it up, you should know the facts. Get up and walk out. Don't be a part of it. This is your country. When people start telling you that it must be divided, they are trying to subvert you. Feminism, Black Lives Matter, black separatists, call it what it is. The gay rights movement. If you're gay, okay, what does that mean? You have sex with somebody that's the same gender as you? Okay, I don't need to know about it. Are you a good person? Do you care about people? Do you work hard? Are you ethical and moral? That's what I'm concerned with. Don't bring it to the table if it's divisive. If you bring it to the table because you've been injured, that's a different story. I'll stand beside you. I'm Jonathan Gillum. My good buddy over there, Rico, is still sitting there looking at me. I'll see you tomorrow on Sean Hannity's radio show about 5 o'clock, and I'll see you back here on The Experts. Remember, wherever you see this, the truth has arrived. How many of you are prepared for an incident like this? Get my new book, Sheep No More, The Art of Awareness and Attack Survival, and I will teach you to think like an attacker so you can truly defend yourself. Don't just react, act. Available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Sheep No More. Get it.